Hello, this is going to be my hopefully comprehensive Deku Tree Custscene Skip tutorial. I already have 2 videos on this, but I don't think they really aged that well. There were some of my earlier ones, and I don't really like the presentation I did, and I feel like I can do a lot better nowadays. And I'll still keep those videos up. I'll link them below. I think they're good resources. I just want a better package to point someone towards to learn this trick. In addition, you may be remembering that there was also a hover section at the end of that tutorial because I kind of lumped the whole leaf segment together. I still like what I did for that half, so I'm going to be uploading that half of the old tutorial as its own separate video so that I have one, this new tutorial on the cutscene skip, and then two, that separate tutorial now for the hover itself, because I still think that's important. So, let's begin. If you're familiar with Wind Waker speedrunning, usually we want to get the leaf as fast as possible because it's a very powerful item, but usually, after you trigger this cutscene spawn in the Chus, you kill the Chus normally, and then watch this long cutscene where Deku Tree kind of talks to you for a bit and then spawns a leaf, and that's kind of slow. So the goal of this trick is to hopefully skip that. The way in which we do that is voiding out during the loading transitions. Put simply, the way in which we actually do that is a little bit more complicated. What we're going to do is kill, air quotations. I do that because we're not, the way in which we actually kill the Chu or get rid of the Chu is going to be kind of weird. You'll see when it happens. But we're going to get rid of the last Chu to time the triggering of the cutscene starting to overlap with us setting up and getting crushed by the chin of the Deku Tree. A little complicated. You might be wondering how we're even going to do that, and I will show that now. So I'm not going to go through the trick, following the steps put on the left, lightly explaining things somewhat at times, and then stopping and maybe expanding on more important things that I want to talk about, as well as also at the end, doing separate segments specifically for things such as the position and angle. I won't talk about that as much during the initial go-through, but then I will later because I think it's very important. Lastly, I think that at the end, I will do a quick run-through of the trick. So if all this boring exposition about how the trick works is not your cup of tea, and you just want to visually see how it works, and then you're confident that you can just pick that up and just do it immediately, you can skip ahead. I'll probably put a chapter there. I just want to put this exposition in there because I feel it's important in my mind, but I understand it could be boring. So again, if you don't want to hear all this stuff, I'll do a quick run-through of the trick with, I guess, a very light commentary. Just me just attempting it and getting it, if you want to learn from that instead. So yeah, let's begin. So first, what we're going to do is do what the first step says. So we're going to roll to this side of the tree, pull out the Wind Waker, and get storage, bonk the tree, and get storage again. Cool, and now we're going to roll towards the Chus over here. And this is very bad. Okay, so that's good that this happened. I'll explain what happened. So first, I'm going to explain why we did all that, and then I'll explain what's going on over here. So first, we got that first storage to bonk the tree to put this Chus in this weird state that we have here. So if you're familiar, usually when you bonk the tree, the Chus fall off and you fight them. However, because I stored that little cutscene and then when you bonked off, they're in a really strange scenario right now where I can't fight them. And they're kind of just going towards this wall. And they're kind of jiggling sometimes. So what's kind of going on here is that when I bonk them off, they fly towards their facing direction and have like a speed towards that and just infinitely go there. And we can use that to our advantage because we can push them out, if you see like that. And when we push them out, they go forward for a little bit, and eventually the floor out of bounds ends, and they fall into the void. And then they technically are defeated, quote-unquote. So if we were to push them all out, the cutscene will trigger similarly as if we just fought them. And we can use that to time a delayed Chu getting pushed out so that we can get crushed at the same time. And that's how this trick works. So that's one. And the second storage, maybe wondering like what's the point of that, is to get the trick to work at all at the end, towards the latter steps. So if you're familiar with this game, usually like when you go through a loading transition or other scenarios such as pulling the Wind Waker to play a song, the environment around Link kind of freezes. So I'll kind of highlight this now. Is if you see the Chus are wiggling, and I have storage, enter camera lock, they're still wiggling. However, if I legitimately pull out the Wind Waker, they freeze. And this is kind of what happens when you usually go through a loading zone, is that the environment freezes. And if that's the case, we're not going to be able to get crushed at all after it starts, so it wouldn't work. So because we have storage, once that transition happens, we're still able to move for a little bit, and the environment is still allowed to move, and then the chin is allowed to crush us, and that's what lets us get crushed. So that's the point of the second storage. So now we're going to move on to the second step, and I will do that now. One additional note real quick is that you might notice that maybe if you took too long to get storage, on your way back over here, you'll see that once within a certain distance of the tree, the Gospel Stone trigger will play. And that is very important to keep in mind of, because if you take too long to get storage over here and you're trying to make your way over here, if you try to roll, it'll eat your storage, and that's very bad, because now you don't have storage anymore, and the trick will not work. Basically, if this happens, you have to go back and get storage again, and that kind of sucks. So what you want to do is, if you don't do it fast enough, just walk your way over here, and you should be fine. So yeah, now let's continue. So now we're going to the second step of the trick, which is pushing all chews except for the right, one on the right. And you might notice there isn't any over there, and that's kind of cool. So basically, when you bump the tree initially to get the chews off, the spread distribution isn't random per se, but for the sake of like RTA, it's not really in your control. I mean, if you like get storage first try really quickly and bonk at the same time every time, roughly you'll get the same distribution. You shouldn't have anything to worry about. But it pretty much just what happens. And if you don't get one on the right, like I did just now, you're kind of screwed. At least this setup will not work at all. There is a left side setup that's kind of older. I will link it below. So yeah, this easier setup will not work if this is the case. And sometimes you just get unlucky. But I'll still continue and talk about how I push some of them out. So before I start, I just want to say that, I mean, each runner kind of has the same somewhat general approach, but we all have our own little quirks in how we deal with specific chews. And I'd recommend looking across different VAs to see how they do that, because you might not like the way I do it, but generally it's the same. So I will be splitting it up into 3 sections: the right section, the middle section, and the left section. You want to leave the right one last, and then I usually just start with the middle one, so I'll explain one by one. So as I mentioned earlier, the chews have this like general velocity towards their facing direction, and we abuse that by pushing them out through the walls, because the walls are just lies. So for this middle section, what I like to do is kind of roll into them perpendicular to the wall, and they kind of go out. So I do that again here, and then this right one I do the same thing. And for the last one, it's a little more difficult. What I like to do is place a bomb on the left of it and walk upright ESS into it, and usually it goes out. So that's that middle section. That's the general way and how you do it. The left section is usually fine. There is a little bit of a caveat to that. I think that's going to happen here. We'll see. You can get 2 types of chews based on their facing direction. One to get like stuck in this corner, or ones that get stuck in this corner. These are really easy to push out, and these are easy to push out with the assumption that there are chews over here too. So what I like to do to start out, no matter what, is get, like, depending on the pack of the chews, I get on the furthest right one and push them all onto the corner. And usually they all get pushed out except for the one furthest on the left. And as you can see here, I got kind of unlucky because this chew is not stuck in the left angle. It's really annoying to push out. That was really lucky there. That's probably the most annoying chew you can get out of all of them. What I like to usually do is push it into the corner and then back up, and before it fully goes to the other corner, I just try to like ram into it, like kind of like so, and hopefully it gets pushed out. But again, there is one more scenario here I kind of wanted to show, which is this left one, and because there's no chews on the right, this is a really bad spread distribution, so now I'm going to cut away and hopefully show a better spread distribution to 1, talk about the right section, how to push out there, and 2, hopefully show the other type of chew I was talking about on the left section. So let me do that real quick. Cool, so I'm now back with a somewhat better distribution. Kind of weird, but it should work out. I can explain some examples I was talking about, such as finally having chews on the right, and also having the chew stuck in this corner, and I will do that now. I will first, again, go through here, perpendicular to the wall. For any not in the middle, and the last one, you just up BSS walk after placing a bomb to the left. For here, for the bad chews, as I mentioned earlier, you push them into the good chew, and they hopefully get pushed out. If they behave, sometimes when there's a lag, it's kind of hectic. Okay, one more. So now both of these chews are in the corner. What you do with ones in this corner is very easy to deal with, especially if they have multiple like that, where you just, all you have to do is crawl, come from the left and push into it, and it goes out of bounds. Very simple. You might want to ESS crawl there, it might be a little finicky, but usually just ESS crawl into it and it should be good. So now that's that section. Now, let's talk about the right section, the one we leave for last, because this is where we want to use the last one at a time. So there's 2 ways to go about it. So if you want to get rid of a chew on the right, all you want to do is place a bomb like so. And to get rid of a chew on the left, all you want to do, if you wanted to choose between the 2, is crawl like in the middle of them and then go up left into the left one, and it gets pushed out. The reason you want to do that is it's kind of hard to explain. So basically, as I mentioned, they all have their own distinct facing directions. And when you push a Chu out, the ground eventually ends, but it's not evenly ending across all directions, so it may fall off sooner or later and void out sooner or later. And that'll slightly affect the following timing. Usually, in the grand scheme of things, it's not significant enough to matter. So usually, you don't really care for this. But if you see almost like one significantly different that you're like not usually used to, if then you get and it fails, this could be the failure point that you want to look at. You might want to slightly adjust your timing based on the type of Chu. But again, it usually shouldn't matter. One thing to note that I've seen people do before is sometimes you'll have a Chu that's like here or stuck here that wants to go over here, and you have time to like push it this side. Never force a Chu to go to this side. That'll almost guarantee that if that Chu were the one you're going to use, the timing will not coincide properly. So never force a Chu over here. Only use Chus that are here naturally. So this Chu should be fine. And now we'll move on to the next step, is where we time a side hop into it so that it unloads at the proper time. So this is kind of like the main execution heavy part of the trick where you're under a time constraint. The rest you really could just take your sweet time with, but again, this trick only saves like 50 seconds to a minute, so you kind of want to be somewhat quick at it. But I will now go on to attempting the trick. So now I'm going to attempt the trick. So what we want to do is, first what we're going to use to time it is the bobbing of the Deku Tree. It's kind of on like a pretty short cycle, and we side hop when the mouth is fully open, kind of like that. It's a somewhat lenient timing. That's not too precise, but that's the general timing, and when you see me do it, that'll give a better in-attempt live timing for it, because it's kind of hard for me to just pause like that and show it. Yeah, what you want to do is target here, get close to the Chu, and snap to the wall if that wasn't obvious. You want to do so far away, because if you're too close, you will target the Chu. That's annoying. So, snap to the wall, get close. I like to be a little bit left of this vertical squiggly line on the ground, like so. It's not too precise here either. Adjust the camera so you can see it, and then side hop when I said so. So I'm going to do the trick now. So the following steps that are about to happen is I'm going to side hop. I'm going to start heading towards the tree and counting nods, getting into a proper position and angle, and then getting crushed. I'm going to go through it kind of loosely, and then afterwards I will go super in depth on the parts following the side hop, because it's going to be kind of hard for me to explain during a live attempt. I just want to show it first. So let's do that now. Side hop, roll towards 3 times. I'll explain why soon. 2, up here, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold L and up, and it should work. Here are the Koroks. You're standing up in the water. Everything is good. The leaf is up there. Everything is A-OK. So now I will cut away and talk about exactly what I did there, as well as showing reasons as to why it can fail. So let's do that now. So now I'm going to show exactly what I was talking about in more in depth. So I've left one Chu here, and we're going to assume that I pushed it out so that I have the liberty of further explaining things without an actual time constraint. So you push it out and you roll 3 times toward this tree. 3 times because the Gobstone Stone trigger is still here, and if we were to roll at any point, when we get close enough, it'll eat our stores and the trick is dead. We cannot back it up. So once you get into this range after 3 rolls, we walk slowly forward and go to this tree stump and walk up. It's a little more deceptive than it looks, because if you're slightly too far to the left or right, you won't walk up. I like this to be in the middle of this lighter texture on the floor, and usually, sometimes you get a little stuck, but then you just walk up. And now we jump over here, and we're going to talk about the position angle. And be careful jumping, because as you can see, you can fall off, and that is very dangerous within the time constraint that you usually have. So now, what I like to do is there's a little bit of a lighter texture that stretches down to the base of the tree. I like to put my foot there, so let me see if I can better highlight that. So as you can see, Link's right foot is kind of in the middle of a lighter texture that goes down the base of the tree. In addition, for the position, I like the sidewalk such that only one foot is hanging off, and it looks like the other one's kind of in the tree. Like so, pretty much. And now we're going to set up the angle. And what I do to set up the angle is, you can see at the bottom of my screen, there's like the base or the stump of the Deku Tree. This one corner right here, this vertex, before it becomes steeper, I like to put that in the middle of my screen, and that's my angle. So this is my position and angle. Position is in the middle of this lighter texture, with my right foot hanging off, my left kind of into the tree. And the angle, putting this corner or vertex of the stump base of the Deku Tree in the middle of my screen. And now, assuming that I timed everything properly, all I should have to do is hold L and up at the proper time. And what I do to to time that is those vines in the background over there. So let me go show those real quick. These vines are what I'm talking about right here. Yeah. And we're going to do that when, after recognizing the 6th head nod coming down, we will then, once it gets close to covering the top of those vines, I will hold L and forward. So regarding the nods, you may be wondering how I count those. So assuming we side hop, let's say we're looking over here, side hop, I come back, that's my number 1, this is my number 2, this is my number 3, this is my number 4, this is my number 5, I get position angle, this is my number 6, so 6 goes up, and then when it's coming back down, as you can see, the chin is going to get closer and closer to the top of those vines, and once it almost is beginning to touch the top, that's when I hold L and forward. So this is probably good. L up, I'll get crushed. And assuming that I pushed out the chews, it would work. So now I will show failures. One being early, one being late, so I'll do that now. Now I'm ready to show the failure modes in which it can happen, and the first one is going to be if you're early. And that will happen in one of two ways. Either one, you side hop too late so that the Chu voids out later, such that when you get crushed, it happens too soon relative to the cutscene trigger starting. So you get crushed before the cutscene even starts, and then you'll just void out normally, and you do the entire trick over again. It looks similar to what happened towards the end, as when I showed the trick quickly, more in detail, explain the position angle. If you maybe noticed, you saw Link stand up from the water instead of being standing already and hearing the Koroks in the good one. That's what's going to happen here similarly, and I'll try to highlight that now by side hopping late. You can also simulate this by just not pushing out the Chu at all and getting crushed. So let's do that now. So let's side hop early, hopefully. Or late, my bad, late. Oh no, I think I side up. Didn't get pushed out. If this happens, usually what I like to do is get a little bit closer to the Chu than my usual position, and usually that pushes it up. It's being weird. So let's go late. That's probably late. 3 rolls, that's first head nod, second head nod, third head nod, fourth head nod, get in position, fifth head nod, get angle, sixth head nod, coming down, almost covering things, let's get crushed, and it should be early. So yeah, that was early, I'm pretty sure. So now Link will be standing up in the water, or like not literally standing up, but in the process of standing up, because he'll start off laying down and then start standing up. And you don't hear the Koroks, that means you were early. And if you're early, it pretty much resets the whole trick, and you have to do it again from the beginning, and by beginning I mean all the way back here to where you have to watch this, and then deal with the Chus again. So that's what happens when you are early in the sense of getting crushed. I'm going to refer to early and late in that context regarding getting crushed. And I will now explain going late. Now I'm going to go late, and the way in which you do that is one of two ways. Either you side hop too early so that the Chu voids out too early so that you don't get crushed soon enough and you're late on the crush. Secondly, this will happen if you just fumble your way to the position and take too long. Eventually the trigger will just happen. So I'm going to do that by now side hopping early, but also kind of exaggerating it by purposely fumbling the movement. So let's do that now. And this is what will happen. So let's go late or early. Oh, I went early. Roll 3 times, first head nod, second head nod. Oh no, I'm having trouble. I can't move. Oh no. I don't even remember what head nod this is anymore. Oh god, I'm panicking. I have an angle. Oh, what do I do? Oh, let's go forward now. Oh, shucks. Get started. So yeah, this is what happens if you're late on getting crushed. Remember, if you don't get crushed before the cutscene starts too quickly, you have to just watch the cutscene and you're kind of locked into this. This will either kill your run or you waste 2 minutes doing the trick. So yeah, this trick only saves like 50 seconds to a minute, but if you fail it, it loses like 2.5 minutes, which is really a shame. So yeah, that is the entirety of the trick. There is a third scenario that can happen, separate than success, that is pretty rare, but I thought I'd mention it here. It still is a success, but I believe, I could be wrong, do not quote me on this entirely, but it happens if you get crushed on the very first frame that the cutscene trigger happens. You'll spawn in a weird state, and I think if I reload the area like this, I should simulate it. So yeah, you'll spawn here, exactly like this, and the Deku Tree will be gone. And this is what will happen if you get that perfect pseudo-fail scenario. And you still got the trick. However, all you have to do in this scenario is reload the area. And this, again, is pretty rare, but it can happen, and I want you to know what to do if this would happen. So if you see that tree gone, you reload the area, come back, And the area will be such that as if you succeeded the trick, the cutscene is skipped, the Koroks are here, and the leaf is up there. So yeah, that's hopefully everything. I hope this tutorial was a lot more comprehensive, as this is more of a live playthrough, because the old one was just me just talking over a video and pausing. I thought that was kind of lame. So yeah, hopefully this was all good. That should be everything. I will now go through the trick one more time really quickly, and that'll be all for me. Thank you. Alright, this will now be the quick run through of the trick in its entirety to kind of summarize everything I've talked about, as well as hopefully maybe just being a quick way to learn it if you don't really care for all that exposition and explanations as to why everything technically works. So I'm going to go through it really quickly, lightly explaining things, but this will be more of a general demonstration. So, go over here, get storage. Come on, tree, let's get storage again. Okay, I failed it. Okay, it's kind of having trouble here. Cool, got it, so I can roll this way. I must stop rolling a little bit early, because yeah, I think I took too long, so if you realize you took too long and you're scared about rolling the entire way, to stop, because you'll hit the cutscene, or the Gossip Stone trigger if you don't. So now I'm going to push out these shoes in the middle section by rolling perpendicular to the wall. Now, last one for the bomb, push to the right, cool. Alright, left section, get on the right of all the chews, push all of them into the left. Then for the last chew, if it's in the right spot, okay, this one's kind of weird. Kind of freestyle if they don't stay in the corner. But you remember what I did if they were in the corner. I showed that earlier. Cool. Now I have one shoe on the right, that's really convenient. Target the wall, far away from the shoe so you don't target it. Get about this position. Line up the camera to see when you side hop. Side hop. 3 rolls, first head nod, second head nod, third head nod, get in position, fourth head nod, fifth head nod, get angle, sixth head nod, coming down. Might be a little bit late, but should be good. Cool, got crushed. And everything short. Standing up, cutscene skipped. Leaf is now up there, do the hover. Coolio. Alright, that is everything for me. Hopefully this was very educational. I don't know. If you have any questions, everything's not clear, please feel free to let me know. And if you're further interested in learning about Wind Waker SD speedrunning, please join the Discord. I'll link that below. Thank you.